ki jai, Shri Parameshwar Das Thakur Tirva Mahamahotsav ki jai, Gauda Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. Shri Shikoda Nitai Mayapur Shashi ki jai, Shri Tulasinatha ki jai, Shri Karuna Bhavana ki jai. Hare Hare Bol. Shri Jai Krishna Vishtai Vatle, Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swamriti Namani, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirasesha Sanyavadi, Pastijate Shatari. Well, thank you, brothers, for giving your association this evening. Maybe somewhere online, I do not know. But this today is a very wonderful, auspicious day on our Vaishnava calendar, as have been the last few days, in fact. We're very fortunate. I don't think anyone else in the world has such good fortune to be able to remember and hear about such wonderful personalities, even in other religions. It's not always a lot to say in many ways. We have so much wonderful information about these great personalities, and they're still present to, you could say, to shower their blessings upon us. When we connect with them, it gets that special mercy. So this morning we spoke about Madhavendra Puri Gosai, and this evening we're hoping to speak a few words with your blessings and the mercy of the Lord, and of course the personalities themselves, Srinivas Acharya, and maybe a little bit about the appearance of RadhaRaman ji. Some of you have been to Vrindavan and have been to the temple of RadhaRaman, and we may have heard that Srila Prabhupada, in the early days of ISKCON, asked devotees to go there, and because they have generally understood the highest standard of deity worship in the Vrindavan area. I don't know if it's still the case, but it was the case in the early 70s. And Srila Prabhupada did ask devotees to go down there and learn, not necessarily imitate or replicate, but learn many things from the devotees in the RadhaRaman temple who worship the deity there. It's very similar. Anyone who goes there can experience the very special power, potency, effect of being in the presence of Shri RadhaRaman. They're a unique deity, one of the two deities in Vraj who still remain there. They never left Vrindavan. Most of the deities, the original deities that is, were taken away from Vrindavan when the Muslims invaded, etc., etc. And RadhaRaman remained, one of the reasons being, of course, the will of the Lord is the main reason, you could say, and his devotees, but one of the reasons being is that he's a little bit smaller than usual, and he's not visibly accompanied by his eternal consort, Srimati Radharani, as you know. There's sometimes a little crown there, and a little cushion, and as Radharani is there, we just can't see her, although he's known as RadhaRaman. Although RadhaRaman, one who delights in Srimati Radharani, so it doesn't necessarily mean that, is Radha a Krishna. It would be RadhaRaman in one sense, But whatever, everything is the will of the Lord. He reveals everything accordingly. He's never without his consort, and they worship him as if Radharani is there, and she is there, of course. And his appearance is very wonderful. It's related to Srinivas Acharya, because Srinivas Acharya, you know who he took initiation from? Gopabhata. Gopabhata is the worshipper of RadhaRaman. So there's a relationship there. And in fact, Gopabhata wanted Srinivas Acharya to worship the deity later on. But because he was such a preacher, he sent him back to Bengal to preach. And one of Gopabhata's disciples, I think his name was Govinda something, he became, or Gopinath, became the pujari for RadhaRaman. So anyway, in Gandaki Prabhu has arrived, and he's probably a very much Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for that wonderful festival yesterday with Abhishek of that beautiful, amazing deity which you worship. Huh? How many shalograms do you have?
420.
Okay. You have a big family. How many shalograms do we still have here in Karuna Bhavan?
We haven't counted them. Around 5,000.
Still around about 5,000. Amazing. It's special. Something very special is happening. So, RadhaRaman ji, we were just talking about the appearance of RadhaRaman ji.
I got a complete from RadhaRaman.
Pardon?
I got a complete from RadhaRaman. Maybe after class, the devotees can touch it.
Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, so the deity worship goes on, and it's descended through the families. There are various branches of the families to this day they worship. They have a nice system. Each family is large families, each one, and they take it in turns every month or something. They change over. A different family takes the responsibility. So it's been going on since those days, and they're very wonderful devotees there worshiping beautiful deity of RadhaRaman. So, little quick story. We're going to Srinivas Acarya of how Gopalbhatta Goswami, he was aspiring. He wanted the association Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared to him in a vision and said, if you want my association, you have to go to Nepal. So he went up to Nepal, and whilst he was bathing in the river Gandaki, Gandaki is here with us today. They were bathing in Gandaki, and I'm sure you've been there a few times, right? Who's your Guru Maharaj? Like he gave you that name because you were so much attached to. Maybe I don't know, or maybe that made you so attached. I don't know. A lot. We won't tell it tonight. Then okay. We'll leave it for now. But the Gandaki River, if anyone's been out there, if you've been to Pokhara, not far from there, Annapurna Range, etc., you'll find the Gandaki River, which flows down, and the very special, extraordinarily special, mystifying, in fact, that the Shilas, they obtained, well, originally, the Shilas come from there, from the Gandaki River. And so he went there, he took his bath in the Gandaki River, and he was just visiting. He wasn't going for a specific purpose to gain Shilas. It's just he had this direction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his vision to go there. So as he put his lota in, there are different stories, by the way, but this is a story which is probably the most prominent. He put his lota into the water of the Gandaki, and when he put out to bathe, he noticed that there were many Shilas inside his water, inside his pot. He poured it back into the water again. What is this? Poured them back in. And this happened 3 times. So on the 3rd time, he thought, well, this must be the will of the Lord. This is ridiculous. Incredible. How is this happening? And there were 12 Shilas. So he took those 12 Shilas and in a cloth, and he carried them back to Vrindavan. And he began to worship those Shilas in Vrindavan, in that place. A little bit behind the present temple, there's another little kind of shrine there, which is the actual place where RadhaRaman appeared. So I guess that's where he was worshipping at that time. And he was thinking one day, one rich his rich merchant, came there and gave him a set of clothes for worshipping Radha Krishna. He thought, what am I going to do with these? I only got Shilas. You can't really dress the deities, the Shilas rather, in the outfits of, like for instance, of Kodinatai Mayapur Shashi. Of course, they're a bit big, it's a big Shila, but, it's just not on. So what to do? All the other Goswamis are worshipping Radha Krishna, and he very much wanted to have that worship with that relationship with the Lord, where, you can dress the deity and the form, the threefold bending form, playing the flute, decorate that deity, focus his heart on Krishna in that form. So he was desiring that very much. And now he received these dresses from this rich merchant. What am I going to do? So it was Nrsingadev, Chaturdasi, yesterday, and then also. And he was praying to the Lord, you appeared, my Lord, as Nrsingadev. You came out of the pillar, out of the stone. So he was praying like this, maybe please, I have this dear desire to worship you and dress you and bathe you and serve you in so many ways. He was hoping to get this opportunity for the Lord. You can do anything, but, how or what? He was just praying to the Lord to please give him this chance. So the night passed, nothing happened. He woke up in the morning. He had his 12 Shilas. He used to keep them under a basket, big wicker basket, at night. So he went down to the river Jamuna to take his morning bath. When he came back to begin his puja of his Shilas, when he picked up the basket, lo and behold, I haven't used that term in years. I've used it at least 6 times since I've been in Glasgow. I don't know why, in Karuna, Bhavan. Lo and behold, he picked up 7. He picked up the basket, and to his great surprise, there was this beautiful deity of RadhaRaman. Maybe he's about this high or something, not very high, maybe 1 foot or a little more, I don't know. Beautiful deity, threefold bending form. Amazing deity. The deity has nails and teeth. It's not ordinary. Beautiful deity. Wow. I was astonished, stunned to see the Lord's reciprocation like this. And there were only 11 Shilas left under the basket. Overnight, one of the Shilas had transformed into this beautiful form of RadhaRaman. Incredible. And as they say, I've never seen, maybe you have, they say that on the back of the deity, you can still see, the marks of the presence of a Shila on the back of it, partially, on the back of the deity there. So the deity is then worshipped, of course. All the Goswamis came running when they heard it. They all came there. Huh? Oh, you have a picture on that. Oh, very good. They all came running to the temple to see this miraculous appearance of the Lord. And a great festival was held, ecstatic. Kirtan, everything, offerings to RadhaRaman. So from then on, of course, that RadhaRaman is being worshipped there uninterruptedly to this day, unlike the other original deities who were taken away to Karoli or Jaipur or somewhere, even Gopal. That we heard about Gopal deity this morning, was installed on top of Govardhan Hill. He's also been taken away. Yeah? Natwar, he's worshipped in Natwar, but followers of what's his name? Yeah, Balabhadra. Yeah, they worship him. Yeah, very nicely. And there, anyway, there's a lot of stories. They have a different story about Madhavendra also, in terms of the history. But we follow our acharyas. But they worship him very nicely. So anyway, we have to move on because we want to talk a little bit about Srinivas Acharya, and we don't want to keep you up too late. One of the most prominent acharyas in our line. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Spapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Pranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Srila Srinivas Acharya Ki Jai. Well, where to begin? Very famous stories of Srinivas Acharya and his significance in our parampara. Very significant. He's known as the devotees in Jagannath Puri. When they first saw him, they described him as the ecstasy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personified. As Narottam Das is described as the kirtan, Lord Chaitanya's appeared to perform kirtan, to spread kirtan, the manifestation of that kirtan mercy as Narottam Das Thakur. And Srinivas Acharya was described as manifestation of Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic love. Very, very, what can we say? Everybody simply remembered Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as soon as they saw him. He had so much of natural, of course, natural emotion, which reminded everyone of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the story goes back. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still on the planet. He hadn't even taken sannyas yet. He was living still in Mayapur, Navadvip. And there was two great devotees of the Lord, but they never seen the Lord. They live in a village near Jajigram, which is near Katwa, where Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. They were living there. I can't remember their names, something or other. And they very much wanted to see Lord Chaitanya. So eventually, the opportunity came. So they decided to go to Mayapur to see the Lord. And just before he took sannyas. So they went, and to get to Mayapur, they had to go through Katwa, which is on the bank of the river Ganges, north of Mayapur. So they went through Katwa, he did, the wife didn't, just the husband. He went through Katwa, and he saw there was a festival taking place. Well, there were a lot of people, at least, were gathered. He didn't know what's going on. And he went to see what was happening. And he had the shock of his life. There, in Katwa, was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who's with us at the back? Is that Palika? Oh, Aibo. What's the name? Jalangi. Haribo, Jalangi. Hare Krishna. We're at the Ganges. This is one of your branch of the Ganges, Jalangi. Huh? So he came there, and he had a shock also. What did he see? He saw Lord Chaitanya. Gaura Hari was there, sitting there, and Madhu, the barber, was sat next to him, and Keshava Bharati Maharaj was stood there, and there were hundreds and thousands of people gathered around. What to do? Oh, she's crying because of what's happening, I think. That's what was going on. Everyone was crying. The whole audience was practically crying. All the people were crying and crying and crying. Why were they crying? Huh? Yeah, because Lord Chaitanya, Madhu was about to, it wasn't Madhu Sevita, but Madhu was about to shave the hair of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was having great difficulty doing it, of course, but that was what was happening. And he was shocked. He couldn't see it. Then Lord Chaitanya's hair was shaved, and he received the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And devotee, I've forgotten his name, whatever. He became stunned. What? First of all, why is this happening? My Lord has taken sannyas. What's going on? He doesn't need to take sannyas. What's happening? And then when he received the name, this devotee just couldn't keep it off his mind or off his heart. Chaitanya, 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 Chaitanya. He was just crying, Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. And from that day, everyone called him Chaitanya Das. In one sense, in this teacher, you could say, he became Chaitanya Das at that moment. And he went back home. Lord Chaitanya, having taken sannyas, we heard this morning, went to Puri. And Chaitanya Das and his wife, they were getting a little older. And they very much wanted to have, they had no son. They really wanted to have a son. And their desire wasn't just to have a son. They were just praying that they'd have a son who would be a worthy servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what to do? So they decided eventually that they would go to Jagannath Puri and take the darshan of Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if possible. So they went to Puri and they found out where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying. And they fell at his feet, begging for his shelter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, he knew everything. He immediately received them as his eternal associates, practically. And he told them to go to the temple and take darshan of Lord Jagannath, everything. So they went to the temple, they took darshan of Lord Jagannath. And of course, many people do this, but they went there praying for a son also. You could say he's a little materially motivated, but they had a special. It wasn't just an ordinary circumstance. And Lord Chaitanya was fully aware of that they would be praying for the son. And they stayed there for some time. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with them and blessed them that they would very soon have a son. And they went back to Puri, back to Jajigram, or near Jajigram where they were living. And sure enough, in due course of time, shortly after that, the wife became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. Well, Lord Chaitanya predicted that his name would be Srinivas, and he would be a great proponent of spiritual knowledge, spreading the knowledge of Krishna consciousness everywhere. So they became extremely happy. The child was born. At his birth, the astrologers said that this child is a Mukta Purush. He's not of this world. He's a liberated soul. He had all beautiful qualities, long arms and lotus-like eyes, broad forehead, all the good qualities, all the symptoms of a Mukta Purush. And as he grew up, he was extremely, at school, he was in the local school being taught they didn't used to teach what they teach now, mostly Sanskrit and Shastra, a little bit different. But he was the most brilliant scholar in the whole school, right? As a child, of course, naturally, and the favorite of the teacher, and everybody loved him. The whole town loved him. He was so high, although he was a brilliant scholar, he was so humble. It's one thing to be learned, it's another thing to be humble. And when the two go together, it's very good combination. So a perfect combination as he grew. And living in that town of Jajigram was also Narahara Sharakara, one of the eternal associates of the Lord, who had Lord Chaitanya's association a lot in Navadvip. So he was also, as I say, telling him all about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srinivas was becoming overwhelmed in ecstasy hearing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he actually, as he grew, he wanted to take initiation from Narahari, Sharakar. But I think Lord Chaitanya had revealed to Narahari that actually this young boy, he's a young boy at this time, no, he should eventually he would take initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami in Vrindavan. And you just be his Siksha Guru. So he was like his Siksha Guru there near Jajigram. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, was in Jagannath Puri. Time went on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, wound up his pastimes. But before he wound up his pastimes, Narahari Thakur advised the young boy, a teenager, advised him to go to Puri to try to get the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But on his way to Puri, naturally, he went through Navadvip and he wanted to, associate. So whilst he was there, news came that the Mahaprabhu had left the world. He no longer manifests his pastimes, so it was devastating. But it wasn't the end of the world, because Lord Chaitanya had given instructions that Gadadhar Pandit would be his instructor in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Narahari told him you should go to Puri anyway and take directions from from Gadadhar Pandit, who was renowned for his Srimad Bhagavatam recitals. Lord Chaitanya, everyone would come to hear and recite Srimad Bhagavatam for hours and hours every day in such transcendental meters and so on. So he again proceeded off towards Puri. And when he got to Puri, Gadadhar Pandit was waiting for him, because he'd received his instruction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before he left also, that there would be a great devotee coming very soon, Srinivas Acharya. He wasn't Acharya then, but Srinivas, and you should teach him Srimad Bhagavatam. So he came there, and Gadadhar Pandit was very happy to receive him. They were blissful exchange. But Gadadhar Pandit said, yes, this is my heart's desire to teach you Srimad Bhagavatam, but the problem is that since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has left this world, I'm feeling such separation. He was in such devastated mood of separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He couldn't stop crying and crying. And he said, the only copy we have of Srimad Bhagavatam, they weren't books in those days, it was all on leaves, palm leaves and so on, has been ruined by the tears pouring from his eyes. It was illegible. Gadadhar Pandit showed him the Bhagavatam, and Srinivas put his head put the pages to his face, to his head, to respect them, but it was illegible. You couldn't read any of the words. And so he said, the only thing to do, Gadara Pandit said, we have to get another copy, then I would teach you. And so they sent a message back to Bengal quickly to Narahari Sharakar, to see if there's another copy of the Bhagavatam. And Narahari replied, yes, we have a copy, but you have to send someone quickly to bring it to Puri so that you can teach Srinivas. So Gadadhar sent Srinivas back to Navadvip, not to Navadvip, but to Bengal to receive or to collect that other copy. So he went back, but he was delayed again. He wanted to visit all the devotees in Puri. So he went here, there, and everywhere, visiting wherever was available. And he went all the way back to Puri. He was delayed in different ways, meeting devotees on the way. And when he got back to Jajigram, news came that Gadadhar Pandit had left the world. He was completely devastated, as you can imagine, overwhelmed. First, he missed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now he has missed the opportunity to hear Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. But Narahari Sharakar was not, as they put back, he said, no, don't worry. Lord Chaitanya has told me that you go to Vrindavan and all your desires will be fulfilled. You take shelter of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and take initiation from Gopal Bhatta, and everything will be fine. So after a while, there was some delay. I think his father passed away or something. Maybe that was the first incident. He had to stay to care for family affairs and so on. But eventually he left to go to Vrindavan. But again, he delayed his Krishna's arrangement. You could say, why does he keep doing this? But every time he couldn't resist it. He went back to Navadvip. He visited the homes of Vishnu Priya, and Ishan was there, Ishana. We have Ishana now. And Vamsivadana, and many other devotees were there, the eternal associates of Chaitanya, Vishnu Priya. He was stunned by the devotion. Actually, it was Janava Ma, the consort of Nityananda. Nityananda had passed away, but his consort was still there. Janava Ma had sent a note. She was in Vrindavan, and she sent a note to Narahari telling him, send Srinivas quickly. Very soon, Rupa and Sanatana will be winding up their pastimes in this world. So he went, but he didn't go so quickly, unfortunately, or fortunately. And he stopped off here and there, and amazed by the devotion of Vishnu Priya, so inspired. Then he went through Varanasi, and he met devotees in Varanasi that were there when Mahaprabhu was there, or their followers. Then he went to to Prayag, and he met devotees. He just everywhere he heard there were pure devotees. He couldn't resist going there for their. So a great lesson to take the association of devotees is the secret of Krishna consciousness, you could say. So this way he's traveling, and eventually he came. As he was approaching, just between Prayag and Mathura, the news came, some or other, that Rupa Goswami Sanatana Goswami rather had passed away. He was the elder of the two. He'd left this world. And when he reached, so that was a bit of a blow, but Rupa was still there. So then he reached Mathura, and when he reached Mathura, he heard that a few days before, Rupa Goswami had left the world. So again, he was overwhelmed. But the Lord appeared to him in a vision or a dream, telling him not to be disheartened, but to proceed forward, take shelter of Jiva Goswami. In fact, Rupa and Sanatana told Jiva that we will not be staying around to give direction to Srinivas, but we are asking you, empowering you to take this responsibility to guide Srinivas, to be his Siksha Guru, and to also guide him to Gopal Bhatta Goswami for Diksha. So this, again, Lord assured him in his dreamlike trance or in a visionary state. So he proceeded on to Vrindavan and went to the temple of Radha Govindaji, temple of Rupa Goswami. And there he fell in ecstasy in front of the deities. And Jiva Goswami quickly heard that Srinivas had arrived. He ran there quickly to see his future Siksha disciple. Jiva Goswami had no Diksha disciples at all. He only had Siksha disciples. He never initiated anyone. He taught everyone, but did not initiate anyone in Diksha. So then they met, and he took Srinivas, that time Srinivas, he took him then to Gopal Bhatta. They all met, and of course, ecstatic exchanges. He received initiation from Gopal Bhatta. Goswami, who was already ordered to give him initiation, so he gave him initiation and handed him over to Jiva Goswami for tutoring him in the science of bhakti. He was already a great devotee, but pure devotional service. So Jiva Goswami took him under his wing. Already Narottam Das was there in the school of Jiva Goswami, and now he was joined by Srinivas. They became very close associates, very close friends. Later on, Shyamananda also came. The three of them became very, very close with each other. So they were there in the school of Jiva Goswamis, and at the time came, and again, it was Janava who sent a message to Jiva Goswami that the importance now, the Goswamis had, you could say that had put all of the Shastras, all of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, this great ocean of devotional service revealed to the world through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Goswamis had put it into containers so that it could be distributed. But Janava then wrote to the Jiva Goswami saying, now's the time that this knowledge has to be taken and brought to other places. So, in other words, Sankirtan has to spread. So this is the first traveling Sankirtan party, was about book distribution. Party was about to appear, about to manifest. So Jiva Goswami decided that the time had come now that these three primary Siksha disciples were capable of performing this great service of taking the Shastras. In those days, a big thing. It wasn't like going out with your book bag, getting on the metro and going to a spot in Glasgow or something. It was a big thing. They had to walk by foot for thousands of miles with huge quantities of literature, because there was no book form as such. They were all manuscripts written on palm leaves, etc., handwritten with stylo, scraped, special. Quite a big thing. It wasn't easy either. There were many obstacles on the path. But anyway, Jiva Goswami, he contacted various devotees. There were some rich supporters who financed the whole mission, and they gained permission also from the king of Jaipur, who was at that time overseeing the area of Vrindavan, with all the necessary papers to pass through various taxation and toll gates. There were lots of them because the Muslims were ruling some parts, the Hindus others. It was quite a scene. So they got various papers together, and this rich disciple, he also provided a very nice bullock cart with 4 very strong bullocks to carry the scripture, the huge casket, where they put all the manuscripts of Rupa and Sanatan and Krishnadas Kaviraj and whatever other scripture there may be, Jiva himself, I don't know. But all these various scriptures were placed in that great casket. It was sealed with wax and everything. So it was, covered with cloth, and it was like a magnificent arrangement. So they put this great casket on the bullock cart, and there were bullock cart men, of course. Two men were there to guide the bulls, and 10 armed guards went with them. So the 3 of them, plus the 10 guards, plus the 2 drivers, set off from Vrindavan, a great festival. All the devotees from Vrindavan were going. It was like a great procession, a glorious thing. The first traveling Sankirtan party is about to set off, and everybody is there. It's like when Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj sent the first disciple to England to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya. This huge gathering of devotees to see them off and bless them on their journey. A great event. It doesn't sound very big in a sense, but it's just one set of the books were on their way, Imagine, of course, you can't imagine, because it wouldn't never happen in this day and age. But everything had to be handwritten. Imagine if you wanted to sell a book to someone, a Bhagavad Gita, and you go out on the street in Glasgow and say, hey, come on, take this book. Come on. Well, but you can't have the book. Here's a pen. Here's 1,000 sheets of paper. You can copy it down, write it yourself. How many books would you distribute? I can tell you, frankly, none. And even the devotees probably wouldn't do it, what to speak of the public. We're so we take it for granted, but there were no such things in those days. So they set off, and all the devotees followed them for miles and miles and miles. There's a great Sankirtan party going with the books to spread the message of the Lord Chaitanya through the Goswamis of Vrindavan. They got to Agra, and at that point of time, Jiva Goswami said, now we all go back, you go on. So then the devotees went back to Vrindavan with all the blessings of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. They proceeded on their way towards Bengal with these transcendental literatures of the Goswamis. A very merry band. And they managed to pass through most everywhere. They got to the border of Bengal to a place called Vishnupur. It's just over the border. It's in Bihar as far as I know now. Maybe it's Bengal then, but it's Bihar now. And this Vishnupur area, district, a big district, was ruled by one King Birhambir. King Birhambir at that time was a head of a huge army of dacoits. And he ruled his kingdom in this way with these dacoits. He had expert astrologers who would tell him, and various types of, whatever you call them, fortune tellers and so on, who could know whenever any pilgrims were coming through his kingdom, they would know more or less whatever they had in their possession. And they would tell the king, and the king would then send his dacoits to plunder the pilgrims or the travelers on their journey, take all of their valuables away. And this is how it's quite an extraordinary way of ruling the kingdom. But they do it in a different way nowadays. They do the same thing, but they do it in a different way. It looks good. Everyone thinks it's legal, and everyone thinks it's nice or not nice, maybe, but they accept it as normal. And but it's the same thing. Everyone's being plundered, and wholesale, much more wholesale. So, but it's a bit rough and ready in those days. So he sent his men out here and there. And then when Srinivas, Acharya, Narottam, and Shamananda came to the borders of Vishnupur, the astrologers could see that, wait, oh, King Birhambir, I think that your life's desires are going to be fulfilled. It appears that there is a group of travelers, pilgrims, coming into your kingdom very soon. They seem to have a treasure chest which has jewels beyond anything you can imagine. From what we can see, this chest contains the most valuable jewels in the entire universe. I think that the king became very excited. And naturally, he sent a big party of 200 dacoits to follow them. They watched their every move. They decided they'd wait till they got a little bit more into the kingdom before they did anything. They followed them secretly for a few days. And then when they found the right moment, it was nighttime. Somehow or another, everyone in the party fell asleep. They didn't necessarily kill the pilgrims. They just stole their wealth. That's all. So then they took the opportunity, and in the middle of the night, they stole this huge casket of the most valuable items in the universe. And they took them back to the excited king in the morning. The king was so excited, anticipant. You can imagine how he felt. The casket was there. They managed to succeed. The king is looking at it in his court, and he's... Oh, talk about Christmas. This is, you know what it's like when you were kids at Christmas time? You got all those presents in your stocking. What have I got for Christmas? So the king's like, they break open the lock, open the top. It's covered by a lovely cloth. He picks up the cloth. What is this? He picks up his manuscripts, one by one by one, and he sees the whole casket is full of manuscripts. Then he begins to read. The writing is just like pearls, like a beautiful pearl teeth. So beautiful. Rupa Goswami's handwriting was immaculate, beyond conception. He could see this. Then he began to read it, and he saw these were spiritual scriptures. And although he was head of the dacoits, he had a religious side to him. He was a devotee, in one sense, of the unusual behavior. And he became, his heart just sank. Oh no, what have I done? What a sin have I committed now? Oh, it made a big change of heart for him, just seeing those literatures. And he put the case lid down and kept it locked up in one of his lockers safe carefully. He didn't know what to do. He was lamenting like anything about what had happened, suffering like anything. Meanwhile, in the morning when the Goswamis, when Srinivas and Narottam and Shamananda awoke, everyone awoke, oh my God, what a shock did they have. Oh no, what a terrible experience. I mean, you can imagine what it's like even yourselves if you're on traveling Sankirtan, as many of you have been, and you wake up in the morning, there's not one book left in your van. Everything's gone. You've just gone somewhere for a long distance. All the books have gone. Okay, they're not irreplaceable, that's for sure. In this case, they were completely irreplaceable. They were pretty much, there were other copies, maybe, but this was like a devastation for them. Devastation. Maybe there were no other copies. A devastating blow. But Srinivas said, well, what to do? He was like the leader. He was a good organizer. He was like the leader. So he said to the others, you go on to Bengal. I will stay and I will attempt to recover these scriptures. So he stayed there in Vishnupur, in that district, with the intention of recovering those literatures. Of course, it was a devastating blow to the devotees in Vrindavan to hear that the Sankirtan had reached such a close to the border of Bengal, and then they've been, looted like this. But Srinivas then began to wander and go here and there. Then he came to the actual city of Vishnupur, where King Bihambir was residing. And he met one very nice Krishna Baba, I think his name was, I can't remember, something like that. One very nice Brahmin who was residing there, and a very great devotee of the Lord. And he stayed with him, and they became very close friends. He stayed there for some days. Srinivas was waiting, just hearing, listening, trying to find clues as to what's going on here. And one day, this Krishna, whatever his name was, his devotee, said that they were reciting Bhagavatam together, of course, and discussing Krishna Katha. Said, actually, in the king's court every day, there is a recital of Bhagavatam. Whatever the king was, he had pandits reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam in his court every day. They said, would you like to come in here? So Srinivas said, very much so. So they went off to the king's court. This time, Srinivas wasn't aware of what had happened with the king. So they went off to the king's court, and sure enough, there was a recital of the Srimad Bhagavatam by one Vyasacharya, one pandit employed by the king. Every day they sat there listening. After some while, Srinivas spoke up and said, excuse me, but it appears that you're not actually speaking from the bona fide sources. You're making your own commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. You are not quoting Sridhar Swami or other great acharyas who've given the actual Siddhanta of Bhagavad. So, of course, Vyasacharya was taken aback. Who are you to speak like this? In front of the king? You don't know who I am, and you are a newcomer here, you upstart? Who do you think you are to make such a comment in front of the king and myself? I'm the king's pandit. He was a little proud. So the king, however, thought he wasn't, somehow or another, this event maybe with the scriptures had changed his heart a lot. He was really lamenting. And he said, well, maybe he's correct. Maybe you're not commenting according to the previous acharyas. So then Vyasacharya said, so then, why don't you make your comment if you think you can speak better on the subject matter? So the king invited Srinivas to speak. So he got up and spoke hours and hours and hours, discussing or describing the Srimad Bhagavatam, expanding, revealing the real Bhagavatam. The whole court was astonished. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone was listening with completely rapt attention. Even Vyasacharya, after a while, was astonished, completely astonished with what they were hearing. Srinivasacharya was speaking like they'd never heard anything like this before. From the transcendental realm, he was speaking Bhagavad Gita. The king was overwhelmed. He fell at Srinivas's feet and begged for shelter. At this time, there was no knowledge of the books and their relationship or anything. And he begged Srinivas to stay in his kingdom and to help them all. So Srinivas stayed there in that kingdom. Vyasacharya, King Birhambir, his wife, his children, everyone took initiation or took shelter of Srinivasacharya. Even Vyasacharya took shelter of him. And some days passed, and the king said, my dear, who basically is Guru, if there's any service I can do for you, please let me know. And then Srinivas said, well, there is one thing. And he explained the whole story, how they came with these books, and we were plundered in your kingdom. If you can somehow or another help me to recover these scriptures, this is your dakshin. This is the dakshin I request of you. The king fell down crying, realizing that he was the one who stole these scriptures, begging for forgiveness, revealing the scriptures to Srinivasacharya. And of course, it was a great event from the one point of view. And he was saying, I'm so sinful, I'm so condemned. I'm condemned, but there is one good fortune. One good fortune. Srinivas forgave him. He said, don't worry, you surrendered. But he said, but there is one good fortune. If I had not stolen her scriptures, I would never have got the chance to take shelter of your lotus feet. So there was another plan there. Because that king, later on, he became initiated. Eventually got the name Chaitanya Das also, I believe, from Jiva Goswami also gave him the name. But he got initiated by Srinivas. And he preached all over his kingdom. It was mandatory that everyone in his kingdom had to worship the Lord. Everyone. Everyone in Vishnupur had to worship the deity and worship Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he preached all over. He sent his preachers everywhere, Tripura, everywhere. That king was a great preacher of Krishna consciousness. He said, Srinivas said, you are my eternal, associate, eternal servant. Like this. He was a very special personality. So then eventually, of course, Srinivasacharya, his mother was getting very old, and he got news that Narahari Sharkar was about to leave the world. So he left Vishnupur and returned or went on towards Bengal, and also to see his dear associates Narottam and Shaman. And he went on went to Jajigram, saw his mother there, went on to Shrikand to see Narahari Sharkar. And Narahari there advised him, he said, your mother is getting very old, and she is also a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You please fulfill her last wish. And he said, her last wish is that you get married. So he did. He got married. He had 2 wives and 2 children from his first wife, Ishani. She had, I don't know, it's a little vague. It appears that he initiated her, and her name was Ishani. And she had 2 sons. They both passed away when they were very young. But she had 3 daughters also, headed by Hemlata and others who all became gurus, initiating gurus, 3 of them. Initiating men, women, so on and so forth into the line. And he also married he had 2 wives, who also had a son, a great devotee of the Lord, who preached also the message of Lord Chaitanya. So he stayed there for some time, and then of course there's the famous pastime. Narahari passed away, and then of course his mother passed away. And he moved somewhere. Srinivas moved to another place. And he also assisted in the great festival, one of the most significant events. See, Srinivasacharya was the carrier of the books. He was the distributor, the primary Sankirtan man in Lord Chaitanya's movement as far as book distribution goes. And he went on with the literatures, and more copies have been made. Of course, they went on and to Bengal, and they were distributed. Then eventually Narottam arranged this great festival in Keturi. And at this great festival in Keturi, Srinivas was there too, helping to organize, bringing all the Vaishnavas together to celebrate the first collective Gopurnim festival and to bring unity amongst all the Vaishnavas at this Gopurnim festival. That was the intention. Janavaman was still alive, although most of the associates by this time, Vishnupriya, others had left the world, Satyamata, they'd all left. But Janava was still there. She was a guest of honor at this great Keturi festival held by Narottam Das. Srinivas was there. He was also famous in Kirtan also. Manohar, something, a very famous form of Kirtan, which is the only one apparently still present of the original forms of Kirtan, the one established by Srinivas Acharya. And anyway, that was that. There's no mention of how he passed away. There's no discussion of that. But he left the world obviously at some point of time. But today is his appearance day. Very auspicious day to remember. And one of the most famous, what's the time now? Huh? Right on time, isn't that amazing? Bang on time, 8 o'clock. We can't sing it tonight, we haven't got time. One of the most famous songs that we sing, who knows what it is? Srinivas Acharya. I have the songbook here. If we had time, we could sing it, but I don't seem to have time. It's too late. We're going to sing it maybe the day after tomorrow. We'll sing one line. One verse. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarno Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Lokanam Hitakarno Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko. This line you may know. Is it up on the board? No, you'll get it now. You don't need it now. This last line you probably already know. Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghushago Shri Jiva Gopalako Rupa Sanatana Chako Shri Jiva Gopalako. So 8 verses altogether. It's called the? Good. How did you get that? Shri Shri Sad Goswami Ashtakam. Very nice. So famous, very, very, very important bhajan compiled by Srinivas Acharya. He didn't compile many apparently, but this is one of them. Narottam compiled many. And Srinivas had many other disciples too, because Ramchandra Kaviraj, probably the most famous one of them. His own daughter Hemlata Thakurani is extremely famous, although not sure if she took They say generally we don't give initiation to your blood relatives when you're taking this shot or initiation somewhere else. But she was like Bhaktisiddhanta, who was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, more or less disciple. So he had many, many powerful preachers who spread Krishna consciousness far and wide. So maybe some inspiration. There's some, I know it's not authentic, so there was some report of how many copies they were distributing, but I don't think it wasn't qualified by any authoritative source. But still, they were the first traveling Sankirtan book party, taking the literatures from Vrindavan to Bengal. They didn't have any books in those days, hardly any. Some, of course, Bhagavad Gita would have been written, and Bhagavatam was also written, but the works of the Goswamis were not available anywhere but in Vrindavan. Now they're made available, and today, you could say, by the grace of Srinivas Acharya, we have so many nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many scriptures essential for our growth of bhakti. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Srinivas Acharya ki jai. Shri RadhaRaman ji ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all very much. I won't be here in the morning. I've got some other commitment tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening, if you wish, at 5:30, or maybe more convenient for everyone, earlier on. We don't want to put you out, late night, so to speak. It's late night now, for eating especially. Prasadam is eagerly awaiting association. The Prasadam is eagerly awaiting it's very lonely over there. It's awaiting your association, probably. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.